What happens when law, business, and life collide? Each week on Lead Counsel, your host Tona will take a deep dive into topics related to the law, the business of law, and life. There will be insightful discussions with industry insiders, experts, and thought leaders making significant contributions and meaningful differences in their fields of expertise. Tom is the founder and managing attorney at TonaLaw. He has been a practicing attorney since 1994 and the leader of TonaLaw since it opened in 2001. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with free information on law and the business of law, and to give you actionable tools related to each of these areas. Now, here's Tom.
Welcome to the Lead Counsel Podcast. This is your host, Tom Tona, here with Juliet Jules. What's going on?
Hello.
The ever hysterical Juliet. Jules, how are you today?
I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm good.
Happy Halloween, everybody. We're filming this on Halloween.
We're recording it.
Right.
So we have a special guest today, Jules. You're never going to guess who it is.
Who?
Alesha Nadeem.
Oh my God.
Human Resources at TonaLaw. What's going on, Alesha?
I'm well. How's everything?
Good.
Alesha, welcome back.
Thank you.
What part is this in the HR
This
series?
is part 5.
Part 5 of the Human Resource series. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback. I don't know if I told you guys. I had a couple of people come up to me at a conference and specifically mention the Human Resource series that we're doing. So I think what we might do is start doing a marketing series after this, a finance series after this, all the different components of the business, like deep dive on it. So today's episode is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which Alesha thought, listen, this is something we should definitely be talking about in this day and age. So, Alesha, I'm kind of excited to dig into it with you and see what your opinion is in terms of where you think we're good, strong, if there's anything you think we need improvement on, and, you know, recommendations out there for people.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll jump in. First of all, and I asked you this morning when I was driving in, what is the formal definition? I think I know what it is, but what's the formal definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Because I know that they're always batched together in the corporate space now.
It's a good question. So the definition of diversity, equity, inclusion is the organization's framework in which it seeks to promote the fair treatment and full participation of all people within an organization.
Boom.
That is the basics of having a well-rounded, inclusive type of environment. That's like the most simplest way to put it.
So it's basically, okay, we have our core values. One of our core values is people first. It seems like diversity, equity, and inclusion would actually be a subset of values that really speak to people first.
Yeah. Right?
Our team comes first. Our clients come next. And above all is our families, etc. So it seems like they're bundling them together. You tell me if I got this right. They're a subset of values that are closely linked that basically opens up a wide array of opportunity for people of different races, ethnicities, religions, abilities, genders, and sexual orientations, right?
Yeah.
We don't have specific policies to this other than we are a diverse workplace.
Yeah.
And we believe in equality for all, and we don't judge anybody for any of their outward characteristics or inward beliefs, right? As long as they align with core values. So tell me, is it important to let people know that messaging?
So unfortunately, we do live in an age where it does need to be either written out or vocalized or some type of way. I think TonaLaw is one of the few firms, companies that it's just naturally weaved into the core values. The people of TonaLaw are just naturally like this. So I think we're in a really good position. That just comes from having a good heart, being a good person. Like you don't see anyone's color. You don't see anyone's gender or their race or their religion. You don't see that. So that just boils down to the person.
I think it's important for anybody listening to this that you also have to be very aware of the fact that there are undercurrents of people that might work with you that you might not even be aware that there are subconscious or unconscious biases. Sometimes they might be conscious. Another area where we're very diverse is age, right? We have people from the young 25-something-year-old people, right, Jules?
Mm-hmm. Well, 20.
And Alesha, 20. Oh, yeah, we have somebody who's a 20-year-old rock star doing our intakes, and she's incredible. Out of Pennsylvania, right? She's awesome. And I talk to her all the time because she's a key member of the team. And so what you do have to be aware of, and I wasn't in the beginning, is while I don't think that way, there could be people that do. And if they do, if your core values are people first and you're really about the team, you got to get those people off the team. Mm-hmm. And I have done that in the past where, just as an example, we are, do you know the split between males and females here, or non-binaries? Or do you know how many people are
mainly female.
So in the past, I do everything by committee. We sit around a conference room table, and if we're evaluating litigation cases or personal injury cases, I do it all by committee. I have rock star paralegals, rock star attorneys that are 15, 20 years of experience. They know their shit. So in the past, I was exposed to people that were basically only talking to the men in the room and literally ignoring the female presence altogether, would not talk to them, would not address them. That person's no longer here, right? Because you can't do that. You just can't do that. The point being that once I did realize this, I was tuned into it and I was like, yeah, this is not going to fly. This will not fly in my house. So on the topic of diversity, I think it's very much a top-down function. And I also think you just have to be really aware of what other people have gone through in the workplace. Like when I talk to you, Alesha, or you may not have the same experience as like a Libby, and she's great to talk to because she's a 20-year attorney in a male-dominated field. She has seen so much. She can tell you stories guaranteed from 20 years ago about partners treating female attorneys less than. Less than what? She's freaking awesome, right? So, I think it's important to be aware that this stuff exists because the training that they make you take mandatorily is not always, on point as real life when you're observing it, and you got to step in and be like, hey, she's talking.
Yeah.
Right. There was some statistic I read too about that men are twice as likely to interrupt women in meetings as they are male counterparts. Something like that. Some crazy statistic. So once you start to put yourself in their shoes, you go, oh, wait, this got to be different here. It's got to be different. Right. Because only 1/5 of us are men here. So what am I doing the rest of the time if I don't have the women of TonaLaw working to get the job done?
And your basically entire management team is all women.
I know that. I'm on those meetings. But I did something today that I hadn't done because Alesha was running the meeting. And I really wanted to let her, she was learning how to run meetings, right? That's the purpose of that they have different people running them. I muted myself because I know I have a tendency to want to speed things along. It's nothing against Alesha. I do it to everybody, but I don't want to do that, right? Like I want to let her, and she ran a great meeting. It was a 10 meeting. I muted myself. I raised my hand. I forced myself to have the discipline to shut the f up. So to anybody that's listening to this, if you're building a law firm and you're 10 years out, 15 years out, you want diversity, right? You'll hear constantly, it's so hard to hire, but they're not hiring 25-year-olds and paying them what 25-year-old rock stars should be paid, not like an entry level. Pay them according to the job they're doing, right? So, yeah, I learned that with you, Alesha, and with you, Jules, because I'm training you guys to be leaders, but you're really good. You're really, really great at your jobs. And so if I didn't have that, what would I be doing right now for HR and you had people with a lot more experience than you applying, but we thought you were a great fit. You came in and never left, so I don't know what to do with you, Jules.
I'm grandfathered in.
You're grandfathered in. But in all seriousness, diversity in age is really key. And so the same people that are like, it's so hard to hire. I'm like, no, it's not that hard. You just don't have an Alesha, and you also, your mind's not open, right?
Yeah.
So on the issue of diversity, you got to mix it up. You got to have ages, races, religions, all different cultural backgrounds, right?
And to add on to that, when you have an issue, right, it's recommended, go to someone else with your issue. They may be able to help you. It's even better when you have someone from a different background, from a different culture, because they might have experienced what you're experiencing, but then are able to give you even better advice than maybe someone who is the same culture, religion as you as well, you know?
How often do I say to you, what would your father do in this instance if it's an HR problem, right? Yeah. You're laughing, but it's not, I think your father's around my age, right? Isn't he like 55 or something?
No, I think he's like 60
okay.
something.
But he had his own business, very successful. And so what's your father's name, by the way?
It's actually my last name.
Nadeem.
His first name is my last name.
Is that culturally, is that done a lot?
So his last name is actually Butt, like literally Butt.
Okay.
But it's a very well-respected last name in Pakistan.
Okay.
So when they moved to America, they're like, yeah, we're not going to give our children the last name Butt. Like, that's messed up.
That's so nice.
Yeah. So I have my dad's first name as my last name.
Okay. All right. Well, but again, you are right. Like, there are very often instances where I'll say, oh, wait, her dad was a business owner. What would he do? Mm-hmm. I also know that he's got a similar mindset to me in terms of the way he does things. But then again, that also helps you with me, because you round out those edges, because you're like, yeah, some of that shit ain't going to fly that you want to do. And so I grew up with that, so we ain't doing that, right? So you're right, though. I do think that it provides a richness that you don't get if you don't invite that into your company.
Right.
All right. So diversity, again, canvas your business and look for, do you have diversity in gender, age, ethnicity, physical ability, neurodiversity, right? I don't care as long as somebody can do the job. Mm-hmm. If they have the skill set, the character is very important to me, and whether they align with the core values. That's really what I look for.
Yeah.
Okay. Equity.
Yeah.
How do you define equity?
So in basic terms, I define equity as being equal, being fair. So how are you being fair to all your team members in the workplace? How do you feel, Tom? How do you feel like you're being fair?
So for me, I have the same standard of performance for everybody. Mm-hmm. It doesn't change for anybody from the top down, right? You know, I think the rules apply to everybody. The same rules apply to everybody.
Okay.
All 24 people under the roof, all 15 people or 16 people overseas, it's all the same. Right. And I tell people, why should I let one person walk in here 3 minutes late, 10 minutes late? And it's got to be equal across the board. Mm-hmm. Right. And quite honestly, I'm held to the same standards. Under EOS, Genera has final say. Did you guys know that, by the way?
I kind of figured.
Genera has final say on everything in this office. I don't have final say.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, I'm actually just an employee. I'm using air quotes, but obviously, if I'm passionate about something, there will be a brawl if I have to fight for something. But overall, it's just one standard for everybody. What's good for one is good for 40, is good for 100. Right. And actually, a good friend of mine has the same standard, and his HR person is a powerhouse out of Florida. She used to work for Disney. And same standard. What's good for one, I think they're up to 75 people now. Wow. What's good for one is good for all 75. So there are no favorites. Mm-hmm. It's equity across the board in terms of equality, right? There's no preferences given. There's no any of that stuff. It's just equal.
So there's two sides of equity, in my opinion. There's equity in making everything fair for everyone, but then also equity and being fair to people in their different life situations, which is what we do at the firm. We're equal,
No, you're right. You finish what you're saying,
Yeah, so
though.
we're equal in the sense that we give everyone the opportunity to succeed in their role when they do have other things in their life that are important, right? Like we give accommodations to certain mothers.
Correct.
The firm.
Because they asked when we were hiring, right? So one of the things that always comes up is, flex time or scheduling. Well, I have somebody who's a single mom with 2 kids, recently divorced. And she said, I want to work here. And I wanted her to work here. And thank God we worked it out because she's awesome. But she needed a start time of 9. And I think for me, the first question I always ask is, I have to the first thing I do is put myself in her place, right? When she makes the ask, and then I'm talking about it with you, engineer, when we're making a hiring decision, I close my eyes in my head. I don't literally sit there and close my eyes, but I close my eyes and I go, okay, God forbid I wasn't with my wife and I have my daughter and I got to get her off to school. I can't be there at that time. So if I know going in and I can allocate to make sure, okay, there are people here at 8. I want people here at 8 because we open at 8. Of course I'm going to do that. We have another mom in the same department who had to leave a half an hour early to pick her kids up, right? Because again, single mom, 2 kids. These are accommodations that it makes sense. It's just when you close your eyes and you put yourself in that person's shoes. So we treat everybody on an individual basis on every single thing. Today you shot out a thing for Halloween, right? What did you shoot out in the general chat?
Oh, everyone can, anyone who has a child between a certain age group is able to leave early if they're going to bring them trick-or-treating.
Right. Why did I do that? I want them home with their kids. They want to be home with their kids. Trick or treat, right? So from 4 to 6, 4 to 7, they go trick or treat.
Yeah.
Somebody came in, they're like, my kid's older. I'm like, okay, go.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Okay, so your kid doesn't meet the cutoff by a year and I'm going to make you not bring your kid at 4. That just seems so antiquated, right? And I do think you can do this at scale. We're not tiny anymore. We have 40 people where, and again, here's the other part of diversity and equity. We have a team of 16 in the Philippines. They have a completely different holiday schedule. I treat them the same way. They all get paid holidays. They get whatever bonuses are customary in their country because there's different customs there. But that, to me, is equity, right? If I treat them by U.S. standards and I'm making them work through their holidays because we're open, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right. So, I think that they kind of blend into each other.
And no matter these exceptions that we are able to give some people, it doesn't take away from that standard of work that's required of everybody. That's that holding everybody to the same
exceptions
rules.
If you take individualized circumstances into respect. So if we have a certain thing, call it a work day of 8 to 5, right? And we have somebody who's like, look, I would love to start with you. I'd love to be here. I'd be a great fit, but I can't start till 9. Had I said no, we would have missed out on a stellar rock star personal injury paralegal. Tell me what inclusion means.
So inclusion means the ability for an organization to embrace and make meaningful connections with their team.
Okay. So now you've been here, 120 days, 150 days, 180 days? How long have you been here?
8 months?
Is it 8 months?
I think 7. Say 7?
Okay. Would you say we're inclusive as a workplace?
Absolutely.
Okay. What type of stuff have you observed that we do to make people feel included?
Just all the things that we do, the firm outings that we have every quarter.
Talk about that for a second. So we're big on firm outings. Now we do them way more frequently because you're here and you got us organized and you have the time to stay on top of all this stuff. Have you noticed when we do them?
Yeah, we hold them midday, mid-work day.
Right. So we normally will close somewhere between noon and 2 o'clock and do a 2 to 4 hour event during the workday. Do you know why I chose to do that way?
To break up the day?
No. What I did was I wanted to give the single parents the ability to be home for their kids on the same time schedule that they always did. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I figured.
You did not.
Because it's much easier. It's much easier to have an event for the whole firm during work outings because some people may have other obligations after work, not even just kids, but other family restrictions or obligations that they need to attend to.
Old school, everything was after hours. Old school, the old way of doing things. Not necessarily just us, just industry-wide, corporate-wide.
Yeah, like happy hours and stuff.
But as I started to study it and look at it, I was like, look, again, if I'm that single dad and I have to pick my kid up, it's a major hassle to be at a work thing from 5 to 8. It really is. So that's why we do it.
And we always change up the activity, whether like recently we've done bowling, we've done painting, we'll do a typical like sit down lunch, dinner event, but we always try to make it something where somebody's always going to enjoy it, or it's going to be something everybody can enjoy.
But it's for everybody.
Like some of us.
Right? It's not just the lawyers. It's not just, one specific type of seat. Also, one of the things that we've done is how we treat holidays, right? There's a whole bunch of holidays. You talked to me about 2 different separate Muslim holidays, right? And you would tell me about them and you took them off, right? Same thing we added a floating holiday because there are new holidays being added to the calendar all the time. So I was like, look, just add one floating day that people can use for their birthday. They can use it for everybody's got a birthday. And if there's a specific religious holiday that's not one of the times that the federal government's closed, then they can still have this floating holiday, right? And that was with the advent of a couple of different holidays, but you specifically, right? Like, so the government closes, and we're typically on a government calendar because we're with the courts, right? So one of the things we do is during the holidays, we decorate the office multicultural, right? We've done Christmas, Hanukkah, all the different holidays around that time. I don't know if we've done anything for the Festival of Lights. We just have lights everywhere.
Oh, I don't know.
And
that's
then
not a Muslim thing.
I don't know if we've ever done anything specific, but we should. I love that food.
Yeah, we will add it in. Okay. It looks like the holidays threw up all over our office.
Oh my God, I forgot
which is
that's
Janira's favorite.
That's
Oh, I'm so excited. It makes the office seem so much.
Are there specific steps that we take during recruitment to ensure that the team is diversified? Like, we don't have affirmative action. We don't do any of that. Our ads are purely skills-based, core values-based, and all of our hiring is that, right? So if you have people first as a core value, it's all encompassed.
You're not going to have that issue.
You're not going to have the issue. You're going to have a diverse workplace, right? Because you value people. You don't value men over women. You don't value one race over another. And truly, that's why it's there, because I've just always believed that.
So my question for the both of you is, how would you guys respond if a team member came to you and expressed that they felt they weren't being treated equally here?
Go ahead. You answer it first. If somebody came in and said, look, I feel like I'm being harassed, discriminated against, whatever it is, you would do your background questions and check all of that. But
also making sure they're okay. That's not a good feeling, to have that experience when you're in the workplace, when you're here majority of the day, and to not feel accepted. So me, with my high I, I would make sure that they're feeling better after the situation, try and remind them that that's not what we stand for as a firm. That's not in our core values. So hearing them out and making them just overall feel comfortable. Yeah.
And I would just add to that, I would react swift and protectively to the extent that let Alesha do her background investigation on whatever the complaints are, write it all up. And if it turns out that, everything is supported by what happened or what was said or whatever, and it doesn't have to be team member to team member either, by the way. It can be a vendor. It could be a potential client.
Right.
We had a potential client call our office and was completely racist on the phone. I took the phone. I got on the phone with the client and I said, we're never taking your case. She's talking to one of my valuable team members that I truly value having here. All right. I've got a lot of time invested in the relationship. She's very loyal. I was so offended by that I was just like, I don't care if you got a $2 million, $10 million case. I don't care. And so I think what you have to do with your team is the same as what you have to do with your culture, is just protect them.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's from each other. Sometimes it's from the clients. Sometimes it's from the vendors. But, again, people have to want to be here. And no one wants to work in an environment where they feel intimidated, where they feel talked down to, condescended. We're here more than we're with our families. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like if you create an environment that people want to be at and they realize that they're valued, they're safe, then we're all good.
In the legal field, we've had members come from past firms where
completely toxic.
Such
I've
toxic
heard
places.
Crazy stories during the hiring process. You've heard them too, Alesha, right? It's just been crazy. If you're at the point that we're at, you're under 500 employees, just be good to each other. Just create an environment people want to work at, and you're DEI. You're in alignment. Put people first.
Literally, I was going to say the same thing. Just be a good person.
Right? Conversely, so like taking from Gary V, you can't be an asshole. You can't be an asshole in my office and think you're going to stay here. I'm going to fire anybody that's going to treat people badly.
Yeah.
This has been the Lead Counsel Podcast with the host, Tom Tona. You can find us wherever podcasts are distributed. We'd love it if you shared the show and the separate episodes with your friends, anybody that's trying to build a law practice or just get better at the practice of law in general. Yeah, so peace.
Bye.
Take care.